My name is Demi Albus. I am a Senior Product Marketing Manager at Microsoft Enterprise Mobility and Security Marketing Team. It's a long name. We have a lot of acronyms in Microsoft. We call it in short for EMS. I get to be one of the product marketers in Microsoft, and today I will tell you how our solutions come together to provide you a great opportunity to challenge the hackers. First, I want to talk about what's happening out there. You have been hearing a lot about it already. There's this fear monger going on. I've been at a keynote. Everybody's talking about these completaries, what can happen. I just want to talk about what is happening out there to provide you some solutions rather than scaring you what can happen tomorrow. Because fear can only take us to somewhere. It can only motivate us to a certain extension. But let's talk about innovation, and let's talk about how our solutions are coming together to help you protect your organization at the front door, how we protect your data, and how we help you detect attackers before they cause damage in your system. Life today is very complicated, especially with the cloud and mobility. You already know about it. Your employees are using mobile devices. This is not news. We already know about this. When I talk to you, what I hear the most is the lack of visibility and the control that you have in this new world. There are a lot of new technologies arising today to help you to provide that visibility, but if you don't have them, what's going to happen is you won't be able to really understand what your employees are doing, what kind of SaaS applications that they're using. Are there any attackers in your system? You don't know the answer to that question most of the time. Unfortunately, it's a very hard question to answer. And in addition to that, how do you protect your data? How do you make sure that your employees do not send a HIPAA-compliant document to one of their friends? How do you know your employees don't become malicious insiders? What we are seeing in the market is obviously, as you know, there's this huge digital transformation that we were talking about and the changing attack landscape, and we are seeing the current defenses not being sufficient. And there's so many different categories out there. It's really hard to wrap our heads around these. Mobile device management, mobile application management, identity and access management. So there are a lot of management suits out there. Data loss prevention, information rights management, user and entity behavioral analytics. Oh my goodness, we have so many different acronyms, so many different categories to solve some part of the challenge, but not providing you a cohesive approach to identify attackers and to protect your organization in this mobile-first cloud world. Our approach to security challenge with Enterprise Mobility and Security Suite is really holistic. Rather than giving you just an MDM solution or just an MAM solution or data loss prevention solution, we provide you a holistic suite that protects your identities, your devices, applications, and data. You don't have to work with several different vendors. We're going to be your single vendor addressing all of these different challenges that you have. Our solutions are identity-driven. As I'm walking through the trade show, I see all of these different names. Business-driven security, analytics-driven security, identity-driven security. Well, we call it identity-driven security, not to call it a fancy name per se, but we believe that protecting identities are really important. And we should be able to do that across devices, across applications, across wherever data travels. We start with providing you a single identity that your users will be able to do single sign-on wherever they go, whichever application they access to, and our job is to protect those identities and even provide you risk scores. We're innovative. We made a lot of acquisitions in this area. If you haven't heard about it, we made 3 key acquisitions, all as a part of the Enterprise Mobility and Security Suite. We acquired a behavioral analytics solution from Israel, Aorato, which became Advanced Threat Analytics. We acquired Adalom, a cloud access security broker solution that became Cloud App Security. We recently acquired Secure Islands, and that became Azure Information Protection together with Azure RMS. So we made significant amounts of investments within the suite because we believe that attackers' techniques have changed, so we have to change as well. And finally, as Brad Simmet mentioned in the keynote today, Our solutions are intelligent. Intelligent is a very overused term. What does intelligent mean? Well, we have a lot of threat intelligence. Microsoft gets breached every day. Contrary to the usual belief, hundreds of thousands of Microsoft credentials gets breached every day. Like, do we have that many employees? No, actually, we are talking about Xbox Live accounts. But we know how to identify them, and we use our threat intelligence to remediate right away. And that intelligence is built back in our solutions. We call this Microsoft Intelligence Security Graph. If Digital Crimes Unit finds a bad IP, Azure Active Directory benefits from that. If Azure Active Directory finds actually a malicious insider, Cloud App Security benefits from that. That's the power of the cumulative security intelligence that we have in Microsoft. So how do our solutions come together? We have a lot of different categories, right? How do they come together? I talk to people, everybody say, wait a second. Just tell me how they come together. Just talk to me about my environment rather than talking about your solutions to us. We do this in 3 steps within Microsoft DMS. The first step is all about protecting access. We call this protecting at the front door. The first thing we want to do, we want to make sure that we use advanced risk-based conditional access to make sure that we only get the right people in your organization. The second step is protecting your data. So when your users are in the system, how do we protect that data wherever it goes? Data travels to many more locations today. We believe the way to do that is to protect the data right at the file creation level. This goes to actually Azure Information Protection, which I will go into details later. And finally, as we all know, no matter what you do, no matter what we do, you're going to get breached. It's unfortunate news. We're all in assume breach mode, so I'm quite sure I don't have to tell you about that. You guys are the experts in it. We want to make sure that we detect these threats and we learn how to remediate from these threats. For this, we use advanced behavioral analytics and anomaly detection policies and products. Let's talk about these a little bit more. Protecting at the front door. How do we do this? As you know, we have Azure Active Directory, the de facto standard for managing your identities. We provide you single sign-on. We do multi-factor authentication. MFA is great. But what we are hearing more and more, as we have seen with some of the attackers, they even imitated two-factor authentication. MFA is great for hygiene, but attackers really changed the game. So what do we have now? We have to identify the risk of every single user based on their interactions with the system. If I'm having a lot of failed login attempts, if I'm having impossible journey situation, then my risk is higher. My IT team may push me to multi-factor authentication based on that, or they may block my entry. I may have to change my credentials. We call this risk-based conditional access, and it's available with Azure Active Directory Identity Protection. So we not only look at where the user is coming from, the location, the device, the user group that the user belongs to, the IP that the user is coming from. We are also now looking into the risk of the user to pretty much authenticate them into the system. This is super important as we help you to protect access at the front door with these technologies. In addition to that, we have privileged identity management, as we know that attackers really goes for those admin accounts. Why? Because they have got rights to the network, right? So if they access these privileged identities, and most of the time, the game is really over. What we do with Azure AD Privileged Identity Management is bringing that hygiene to your privileged accounts. If somebody doesn't have to be an admin for a long time, just for 2 hours, we give them just-in-time access. And we always provide you how many privileged identities are idle. So you have the visibility. The first step is really to see, because if you cannot see, you cannot prevent it. So visibility is the first step. And we help you protect at the front door by protecting your access with these risk-based conditional access technologies, as well as privileged identity management. The second step is protecting your data anywhere. As you know, data is traveling to more and more locations. You have already heard about this. Everybody tells you here, oh, it goes to devices, cloud. Yeah, you know about it. How do I start to control it? There are so many different scenarios out there. And if somebody comes to you and says like, oh, just do the CASB solution, a cloud access security broker, you're going to be able to address all of the different DLP scenarios out there. They'll be lying to you. It's not true. There's so many different use case scenarios. The only way to protect your data is to protect file at the moment of creation. This is what we do with Azure Information Protection. We embed the classification and the sensitivity of the file right at the creation of the file simply just by clicking on a label. You identify who accesses the document, and it immediately gets rights managed. And wherever that data goes, on-premises and in the cloud, we keep protecting that data. So let's talk about cloud a little bit. What happens to cloud applications? You may be provisioning cloud applications to your employees, or you may not. You may think that you're on the cloud, or you may not. You may not think that, oh, we are not on the cloud, we're not using. Unfortunately, your employees are using them. Maybe we should say fortunately, unfortunately. You can go in between, because Shadow IT is also a source of innovation. But what we see is your employees are using them to be productive. They're saving documents to cloud storage applications, to Box, Dropbox, great SaaS applications, by the way. So how do I protect my data when the data goes to these cloud applications? We do that through Microsoft Cloud App Security. We discover applications in your environment, and we start controlling them with policy. So you can extend the on-premises policies that you have to the cloud by using Cloud App Security. How do we do this for mobile devices? We do it with Microsoft Intune. Microsoft Intune provides unparalleled security capabilities to Office 365 applications. This is what you carry the most, because most of your users are using Office 365, obviously. That's the golden standard of productivity. And the last piece is, how do we detect attacks to remediate? I protected at the front door, I protected my data, but no matter what I do, I will get breached. For this, again, we made a lot of innovation, and we work with Microsoft Intelligent Security Graph as well. But for this, you have to use behavioral analytics. You may have heard about this. You need to understand a user's behavior on a normal day so you can identify abnormal behavior. Because your innocent users could be hacked, which happens all the time. And then an attacker is hiding under the identity of this user. How do I identify this attacker? Because this is a full-time employee. It would not raise any red flags with your SIEM solutions. The only way to identify them is through behavioral analytics. You have to understand a user's behavior on a normal day, and based on that, you identify what is abnormal. This is similar to what credit card companies do. You're familiar with it. If you have a weird transaction, if you're here and somebody is fueling their car in Brazil with your credit card, you'll get a call from your credit card company and bank and say, hey, there's something going wrong here. And based on that, they will cancel your account. They will sometimes not even ask you. Well, we don't do that, but we have it. Our technology's concept is similar. We look for normal behavior and abnormal behavior, way more sophisticated than credential theft prevention. On premises, we have Microsoft Advanced Threat Analytics. It's based on the acquisition that we made called Aorado. It looks for known malicious attacks, known security vulnerabilities, as well as abnormal behavior in your system. In the cloud, for cloud applications, the same thing, we do it with Microsoft Cloud App Security. Azure Active Directory Premium does this on an identity level. Behavioral analytics is built into everything that we do. And our solutions also talk to each other. And that's what I mentioned by Intelligent Security Graph. As I said earlier, we get unique insights from Digital Crimes Unit, our Microsoft Consulting Services, Azure Active Directory, Cloud App Security, Windows Defender, Advanced Threat Protection. All of these solutions come together to help you pinpoint attackers. And we help you to not only protect and detect, but respond. So you can respond with policies. You can respond with identity protection and risk scoring. Our unique approach really helps you to protect as a company across identity, devices, applications, data, as well as infrastructure. And we have a variety of solutions to help you to achieve that. Today I told you about Microsoft Enterprise Mobility and Security, which covers you through identity, devices, apps, and data. We have experts at the booth who can help you with more questions and demo these great products. But I will strongly challenge you to have that holistic approach for security, because having these separate solutions overlapping with each other is going to eventually create blind spots. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great RSA.